Evening all, welcome to the 4th of December. So here we go, we're well underway now. Now today's game we're going to look at is beloved by some, berated by others. Now I'm kind of ambivalent to it, so but this is going to test my ability to talk. We're playing Eurotruck Simulator 2. Now this is going to be a tricky one. I have sped up some of the footage because I don't want you to sit through half an hour of me manoeuvring, so I've actually sped that up. But if you're not familiar with this game, let me explain the premise. It is a simulator, and I do mean capital letters, arrows pointing at this word simulator. It's made by a German company, SCS, and it's pretty evident as you go through it that the people who would play this are fans of trucks, which is nothing wrong with that. Everyone's got to have a hobby. And yeah, says the gamer berating somebody who's into trucks. Anyway, it's an interesting game. I've got to admit, I saw, gosh, maybe, I don't know, 6 months ago, I think I saw the Yogscast playing this once, and I was instantly like, whoa, what's that? And I dismissed it. But then I saw it was on Steam sale, and I was kind of in the mood for maybe engrossing myself in something a bit more, a bit less killy, a bit more, I don't know, business. So I decided to buy it. I think it was literally like $4.99. And I probably then, like, I looked up from my desk, and I had delivered, you know, maybe 100 different journeys across 5 different trucks. I had a company that was growing, and I had been to Hull and back, quite literally, many times over, and I was addicted. And a whole weekend just literally flew by, which sucked a bit. So this game is deceptive. Okay, it's a real kind of surreptitiously sneak upon your brain and pounce and get it, because there is something incredibly addictive about this game, and I couldn't even tell you what it is. It's programmed really well. It's really lovingly built, and you can tell the people who created the game are also really into trucks and trucking and freight movement, etc., because they have produced a very solid game. And I think the visuals are fantastic, and all round, I have to admit, it's not a stranger in this kind of advent calendar of games. Even though you probably could say it's the unwanted cousin, I think the reality is it's actually quite a good game. So here we go. We've now picked up a job. I believe we're in London, and as you can tell, it's London because, hey, look, there's the gherkin. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this cargo of, I don't know what it is. Is it beer? I can't read it, but let's just say it's tampons because, hey, that'd be funny. And we're taking it to Lille in France. So this is going to mean a proper European trip. You can pick and choose what jobs you do. You can buy different trucks. You can do a massive amount of stuff, to be honest with you, a surprising amount of stuff. Currently, I've played this for a while, as I've said, and I've now got, I think, 4 drivers, maybe 3-4 drivers, certainly 4 or 5 trucks, and we're earning good money, although we owe a huge amount to the bank. And to be honest, that's the detail of the game. It's not necessarily just about driving A to B sensibly and not crashing and killing people, because you can't really do that in this. Where did that guy come from? Oh my god. I mean, straight off the bat, I almost drove into that guy. I didn't see him. Honestly, I did not see him. Anyway, it sucks. So what we've done here is we've sped up the footage by 2 times. Now, again, this is just to save you from, I guess, the from the monotony of a very long trip, and I'm just reducing it by half. So no, I'm not doing a speed bike impression. This is actually, you know, by design. And I think the game is very clever because what it does is it takes a number of kind of simulated things that people like to play. So people like to obviously earn money. They like to kind of feel like they've achieved something. There's a very good skill tree in here as well. So there's quite, I mean, again, very well designed game. And a lot of the time you find yourself actually wanting to drive within the law. I mean, obviously the first thing on my mind was, haha, let's just go and throw it into a wall. But after a while, after playing the game, you realize, actually, I don't want to do that. This truck cost me a lot of money and I've got to owe the bank it. And all of a sudden, before you realize it, you're sat there with a clipboard and pen and you know, wanting to go and inspect the cargo. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? But it's very well put together. I think I respect games that really do have that, I don't know, that feeling of quality. They've actually spent the time on this. They've not rushed to get it out. and they produced, you know, I mean, this is a sequel as well. There was a Eurotruck Simulator 1, and apparently that didn't have as much business in it. It was much more about the driving, whereas this is more about you set up a freighting business, and you could be solo freelance if you like, but the game does nudge you gently towards becoming a business owner, which is very German. It's very organized. I like that. I think this is something that a lot of games, and again, this is a really interesting kind of segue into, I guess, the topic of today, which is, you know, games are not always about shooting, you know, evil Lord Zorg and you know, destroying his star death, whatever. It's not about that. It is often games are actually an educational piece. And I know people, you put the word educational and game together, then you might as well put the word dick and head together, because people don't like the thought that a game is educational. But actually, I think you'll find most games actually are. I think a huge amount of games do train the mind. They train the way that people think. A lot of the time, gaming is about a process, so people understand process more. I say this as a person who's obviously been through this, because my ability to see processes and systems has been increased by playing games. Literally, I would play a game and I would think, right, so they've designed it so that once you've got that crystal, you plug it into that socket, and then this comes alive, or whatever. I don't know what game that is I'm describing, but you know, it's literally like that. So you think to yourself, okay, so you've got to do this, you've got to do it before you can do that, and then you can do this, and that is really nice. I think there's something quite logical about all that. And gaming, I think, actually can be, you know, gaming can be responsible more so than it has been. So when you got your GTA, where you're beating up hookers and stabbing them and shooting them in the face, and that's the bad side of this. This is the downside. But it's, you know, the problem is universally gaming is condemned as being very counterproductive to the education of people. And I think that's completely wrong, because gaming is like movies, it's like TV, is that, yeah, some parts of it are bad, some parts of it are good. So you can't really kind of compare the two. You can't, you know, literally you can't, you know, take a genre and just paint it with one brush. Games like this, and believe me, there's hundreds of games like this. There's Farming Simulator, there's oh my god, you name it, it's out there. I mean, simulator this, simulator that, even Rubbish Collection Simulator. I'm not making it up, it's that. These are all games that I think people a bit sort of dismissive of, but the reality is they're becoming quite a popular subgenre. And in their way, it's teaching people to be, I think, a much more kind of educated person, because we send people to business school, and you know, we do, you know, certain degrees to train people how to run businesses, whereas you can actually play games that will teach you how to run a business, a country, a company, you know, you name it, it's there. And the irony is that, you know, a lot of the time gaming is condemned. Oh, I've got myself wedged a bit. There we go. Gaming, I think, can be slightly condemned for being, you know, again, a little bit frivolous, which is an absolutely shocking statement, but unfortunately very true. That people, you know, generally, when I say to people, I mean, I'm a, you know, chap, you know, I work in a blue chip business, and if I walked into the coffee room one day in my fucking Hugo Boss suit and stood to my colleagues and said, hey guys, you'll never guess what I did last night as Trevor in GTA. Yeah, beat a bitch, stole her money. They would look at me like I'd literally just taken a shit on the floor. And that's the sad part of gaming, is that it does get this kind of it gets labeled, unfortunately, with the negative and never really understood with the positive. And I think games like this really do show, I think, worth. Because, for example, I think if I ran a multinational business, my interview process would not be, you know, how good a sociopath you are and how good are you at bullshitting me. It would actually be, right, here's Eurotruck Simulator, or here's the SimCity, or, you know, here's a game with the, you know, management element of it and an economy. Come back, you know, I'll come back in an hour, and if you've made £1 million, then you got the job. I mean, that would be pretty cool. Oh my god, did you just see that? That was like the most incredible almost crash ever. And I think certainly sometimes, I think, you know, people would probably do better. You'd get more the right person for the job. I always thought this of things like, there's a game ages ago called Pizza Tycoon, and we're talking very long time ago. And when I was a student, I used to work in a pizza shop. Literally, I was the pizza delivery boy, and then at some point, I was the person who took the phone and so on. So I was a twat basically. I was a guppy, and but the irony is that playing that game was based on an exact model of how a pizza restaurant is run, a takeaway pizza restaurant is run, and it was fascinating because the whole thing was very realistic. It was a full simulation, done with cartoon effect, but simulation nonetheless. And I think it's fascinating because the reality of it is that when you're looking for people to run businesses, I mean, for example, most people would rather work for themselves, I'm sure. And I think most people, if they could understand it and had full knowledge of it, would obviously not work for someone else, because you'll never get rich working for someone else. Getting a simulator that tells you how to do X, Y, and Z surely has to be one of the kind of big progressions in terms of education. Why should we make people read books when we could sit them in front of this and make them play a game? And the irony is, people go to university to study freight logistics, freight business management, and that's really bad. I just crashed. Okay, not good. And I've just been hit by something. Not good. Now, this is the beauty of Eurotruck Simulator. I was actually quite scared at this point because it felt like a real accident for a moment. And I was having to think to myself, what do I do? What do I do? What do I get out? What can I do? And at this point, I'm panicking. So you see here, I've just completely locked the front cabins. That's done more damage. And so on. So, again, beautiful... beautiful game, really, because it was actually making me panic. And as I'm reversing, I'm seeing people there. I can hear the horns tooting, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm actually in the way. And I actually got that really weird driving sensation of, I don't know what to do, what do I do? And I love that. Now, as you can see, the traffic's not really kind of waiting for me either, so I'm having to barge past them a little bit, and I'm getting fined for it. But here we go, and I think I'm actually lodged on top of something as well, because as I try to pull away, see, I get stuck. So, very annoying. And I think this is part of the game, is that yes, these kind of things are based upon real world. So you actually probably could crash and destroy your cab, quite honestly. And I'm looking, sort of mashing buttons to see what do I do. So I think to myself, right, okay, pull forward. Oh, that's a bit close. Right, dude, what's up? Look at that guy, he looked wild serious. And then as we pull back, let's try this one more time. Okay, the truck's going, that's good, that's a good sign. There we go, so this is looking positive. All of this just to pull into Calais, and you'll notice I missed the turning. As you can see, you've actually got to look for the one that's open, and I missed it like a knob, so I was a bit annoyed at that. Anyway, back to our topic. I think certainly, simulators are worthy of looking at. I think, you shouldn't just sort of dismiss them as, oh my god, that's what Dad would play. I think you should actually look at them and say, well, maybe that's interesting. A good example is Farming Simulator. I know it sounds horrible, but if you're into kind of land and, maybe you're even a farmer or you want to be a farmer, why would you not play that game? That makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Things like SimCity, everybody I'm sure would, has at some point in their life a fancy to be the mayor or a politician or whatever. Well, there you go. If you SimCity, you can run your own town, and it's not as childish and frivolous as it sounds, because the reality is it's based upon a real world economy, a real world kind of scenario of events. It's simplified, but in essence still based upon it. So I think there's a lot of games out there that actually are quite educational, and I think there's nothing wrong with playing them either. I think gaming as also a hobby is actually quite a good thing for people to do anyway, because it does teach you a certain series of skills that I just don't think are commonplace elsewhere. And I think even just down to the physical attributes, your hand-eye coordination is something that at school they used to make you play sports to get your hand-eye coordination up and your balance and all this. Gaming, I think, has taken over part of that. Certainly not the balance piece, but it certainly has taken reactions, etc. Because I think now what we're seeing is a lot of people coming with exceptionally good reactions, but terrible balance, etc. So, there's always a downside, unfortunately, to this. The sedentary nature of gaming is probably its biggest killer. So I think just unfortunately that has to be beared in mind. As we stand, we're now in France, so I'm driving on the other side of the road, and my god, the roads are narrow, aren't they? It's pretty terrifying when you're doing turns like that. And look, it's started to rain. I tell you what, this game is an absolute simulation of my mood at the moment. And yep, I just took out that sign. Don't care, no shit's given. They can take it out of my taxes. Oh wait, I don't pay any in France. And I'm now worried because I can't work out how to turn my wipers on. And that's actually quite a bad thing because I'm about to hit the road, I guess the motorway equivalent, and it's not good. So I'm literally mashing buttons. And look at that, some guy just completely stopped in the middle of the road. I just couldn't believe it. So I just literally put my horn on and left it on for about 2 minutes just to... Wonderful game. And I think, again, it's the frustration of it, really, because you do want to make a flawless delivery. Although I've kind of ballsed that up already, but there is something about the game that does inspire you to actually try and do, the game right. And I think that's always a good thing as well. You can cock about if you like, but the reality is that after a while you'll realize actually the benefit and the gaming is all about releasing the chemicals in the brain that make you feel as if you've achieved something and make you feel as if you've progressed. And I think certainly this game will do that in abundance, and that's why it's so addictive, because on paper it should be terrible. In reality it's just simply brilliant, because at the end of the day you actually begin to really care about delivering the load on time, doing it properly, and really getting it done right. And I think there's very few games that do. There's games that will build rules and laws and policies in that will make you do it. So yes, you can't kill the NPCs because we know that you'll try. This is the kind of game that's built along the lines of, I guess, socialism, where it just says everybody can do what you like, but you'll find that actually the societal trend is to actually obey the rules. How German is that? It's lovely. I love it. I think there's something really endearing about that whole quality where you actually do want to toe the line and be a good citizen, etc. And it's not very British, I must admit, but it is wonderfully German, and I think that's actually to be celebrated with this game. And I think it's a testament as well, I think, to the real, developing nature of certain software houses and what they're producing now, in that, the specialization seems to be really coming through on a lot of companies now. So, DICE and all that have obviously always specialized in shooty, killy, bang, bang. But, SCS are obviously, incredibly good at this kind of logistical simulated style of game. And I think, I'm really curious to see what happens next. I think there's a few other games from way back that did remind me of this a bit. I mean, one was Transport Tycoon. I don't know if you remember that. It's actually now free. If you Google it, you'll see it's completely free. It was almost like an isometric. Seriously, 3D hadn't been invented when I played this. It was an isometric sort of, side-on, quarter-on or whatever, diagonal-on, logistical kind of management game. And it was all about building an infrastructure of transport, roads, rail, sea, air, the whole lot. And it was actually really good fun. It was incredibly well programmed game. And to be honest, all they need to do now is put a nice graphical interface on it and they'll clean up. But I think it's actually shareware. I think they've just made it free. I think the company went under and it's just now out of copyright. So well worth a look, and that's Transport Tycoon. And that reminded me almost of this game to that degree, because it really is about building an infrastructure or supporting an infrastructure. And I think gaming is not always going to be about, the one genre or the other. There always are going to be simulators and simulations, and usually it just used to be like flight sims, etc. But now I think you'll pretty much, if you open Steam or any game provision company thing, you'll see that there's so many different types of simulator now that you pretty much the world's your oyster. If you have a particular interest, you'll probably find there's a simulator upon it, which is all quite interesting. As you can see, my pro skills, I could just literally press enter and it finishes, but I wanted the bonus points, and so I was actually reversing. And look at this, I did it almost third time, so I'm quite proud of this. I don't know how I did it. I actually must have been just on my game today, because for some reason I actually got it kind of right. Look at that pro skills. Oh yeah. Lovely jubbly. Oh no, I got it wrong. Hang on, it's still not done it. All right, let's just straighten up. But again, wonderful kind of detail, because it's actually forcing me to bloody park the thing as well, which I think is kind of funny in a way, because it kind of gives you the option to say, well, if you want, you can just press enter and cheat, or if you want to do it properly, then you know, you get extra points. And I think, well, I want to do it properly. I want to get my points. Again, it's the societal. It's a weird game. It's like gaming socialism, where I actually want to do what it tells me to do. I don't want you to go out and write cock and balls on every pavement I see, which is a wonderful thing. And look at this, I've actually leveled up as well, and I even get like bonuses for this, that and the other. I did crash, that's not good. And look, you level up as well, so I'm actually going to level up in long distance. And I'm tempted to play this again. It's been probably months since I last played it, and I must admit I'm quite keen. But at this particular moment, after having spent almost 40 minutes doing that, I think I was more interested in throwing this into a wall. So here we go, and boom. I am British, I can't always obey the rules. So there we go, I hope you enjoyed that. We're going to do a quick article on this game. If you enjoyed it, please check our website, squadb.com, and you'll see there an article for more information and discussion on what we've talked about today. So there we go, hope you enjoyed that. More tomorrow.